Series podcast, and we are back with another episode with Supriya Chechi, and we're gonna actually start the 11th chapter of the Gita, and we're gonna give the incantation now.
Right.
Om Timirandasya Gyananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dati Swapadantikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kantha Radha Kantha Namostate तप्त कंचना गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी ऋषभानुसुत देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमती भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी इति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवसादि गौरभक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा माधवा कुंजा बिहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंजा बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवारधारी गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवारधारी यशोदनंदन व्रज जन रंजन यशोदनंदन व्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी
Hey, Hare Krishna. Thank you
कृष्ण
for having me back, Kanan. And we are
और
starting
क्या
the universal form today, the 11th chapter.
या
Uh, this is like a turning point because there's less philosophy and it's
हम्म
more like demonstration here.
हम्म
There's less theoretical instruction. So far, Lord Krishna has been instructing and explaining and describing
हम्म
how he just with one speck of his power opulence he permeates the entire universe. So that's all theoretical description, but people want to see, isn't it? People
हम्म
want to see sometimes to be convinced. It's not that Arjuna doesn't believe, because the previous chapter ends with Arjuna saying, oh, glorifying the Lord and saying, I accept fully, I accept you as my Lord, etc. But he's going to ask for a kind of a demo, a practical
हम्म
demonstration, like a PowerPoint, like we see PowerPoints, some visual demonstration to how exactly he's asking, how exactly does how exactly does Lord Krishna permeate the entire universe. So this is quite interesting. We'll just chant the first 5 verses continuously with the translation and then
okay
start discussing. Is that okay? Yeah.
yeah that's fine
Okay. Arjuna
अर्जुनवाच
Vacha.
मद् अनुग्राहय
Yeah.
परमां गुह्यम् अध्यात्म संयितम्
Yat.
यत्त्वा योक्तं वचस्तेन मोहोऽयं विगतो मम
Arjuna said, by my hearing the instructions you have kindly given me about these most confidential spiritual subjects, my illusion has now been dispelled. Okay, next one.
भाव
Avapya
भावप्यायौ हि भूतानां
shruta
श्रुतौ
vis
विस्तारशो मया त्वात्तः
dvattasya
कामलापत्राक्ष माहात्म्यम् अपि चाव्ययम्
O lotus-eyed one, I have heard from you in detail about the appearance and disappearance of every living entity and have realized your inexhaustible glories. Right. Next one.
एवमेत यथाथ त्वम् आत्मानं परमेश्वर द्रष्टुम् इच्छामि ते रूपम् ऐश्वरं पुरुषोत्तम
O greatest of all personalities, O supreme form, though I see you here before me in your actual position, as you have described yourself, I wish to see how you have entered into this cosmic manifestation. I want to see that form of yours. See, he's asking a kind of
mm,
a very modern approach. Instead of just blindly following, he
mm,
is inquiring submissively. I wish to see. He says, O greatest of all personalities, though I see you here before me in your actual position as you've described yourself, I wish to see how exactly you've entered into this cosmic manifestation. I want to see that form of yours, meaning the Virata Rupa, Vishwarupa, or the universal form. Next verse. Manyase
मन्यसे यादि तच्चाख्यं
maya
मया द्रष्टुम् इति प्रभो
iti prabhu.
योगेश्वर ततो मे त्वं दर्शयात्मानम् अव्ययम्.
If you think that I am able to behold your cosmic form, O my Lord, O Master of all mystic power, then kindly show me that unlimited universal self. Okay, let's stop here because in the fifth verse, the Lord starts answering. Okay, so this
Okay.
is Arjuna's request. So we have here our ancient Vaishnava commentators, they are saying Arjuna is actually thinking of the future
Mm.
because Arjuna is willing to accept everything that the Lord said.
He's
But
worried about what other
yeah,
people in the
you
future
might
will.
have exactly people who are not such submissive followers and believers in the Lord who will say, how do we know? He just claimed all this. The second problem is you will have people, he would have been thinking that might be people coming centuries later who claim to be God, right? Who claim, and that's happening even now. You know, you have all these bogus avatars, the Kalki avatar, and then there is a female consort and so on. Bogus avatars coming, and just like Krishna tells Arjuna, I am the supreme and I am the beginning and the end of everything, they just claim it and they expect that people are going to accept it. So Arjuna is really, this is quite progressive thinking. He's asking Krishna to do something that will pin things down firmly and set a standard that if someone is going to claim that they are the Lord, then they have to be able to manifest something fantastic,
Mm.
something completely unusual, which is so overwhelming and overpowering and bewildering that whoever has seen it then just has no further doubts any longer. So it's not that Arjuna has doubts, but he's actually asking in anticipation, like a preemptive or proactive approach. He's asking for the benefit of the future generations. But this is very progressive thinking, and actually, even today, I was listening to a lecture how in ISKCON we are trying, because none of us are going to be alive forever, obviously not. The Prabhupada disabled generation is practically kind of getting over. They're in their 70s now, those of whom who have left. Every other month, somebody is exiting, making the departure. Meaning those who worked directly with Prabhupada and heard from him and followed his instructions and stayed. So now you have Prabhupada's grand disciples, and then we are his even further than that. But so that way, how to put things down or organize the instructions that are available in a form that can survive the kind of doubting and atheism and culture shocks that are coming in these coming generations. There has to be some protection to protect Prabhupada's instructions. Because some of Prabhupada's instructions taken out of context can be completely rejected as being racist, sexist, discriminatory. You know, in actual fact, he made this bhakti yoga opportunity available for every Tom, Dick, and Harry. He didn't care whether they were up to their eyes in drugs or whether they had not washed for a week, meaning bathed, or whether they had just finished smoking pot or smoking cigarettes, whether they were a man or a woman, whether they were a child or he didn't care whether they were black, African, Sri Lankan, Chinese, nothing, whether they just eaten very horrible things like in certain cuisines, very low class kind of meats. Nothing, he didn't discriminate. So he was actually the most non-discriminatory person. But unfortunately, where he repeats directly from Vedic viewpoints, if you pull it out of the context and don't balance it out with other things he said, in today's heightened sensitivity and political correctness and this alertness, political alertness and awareness, it won't be long before certain groups start showing their binoculars on Prabhupada's books and say, no, no, I would, it's already happening. Don't read this particular Bhagavad Gita. The Gita is a great book, but not this particular version, because you see the founder Acharya,
Mm.
he is this, etc. So
Actually,
there,
I was
yeah,
sorry to interrupt. Actually, I was
yeah,
just going to ask this. Actually, I've always wondered this.
yeah,
So I wanted to ask you, like this particular chapter, which is the 11th chapter, and even
yeah,
maybe the 12th chapter also, which is coming after this.
yeah,
These two chapters, like, kind of talk about, I mean, even the 10th. Maybe you can say the 10th, 11th, and the 12th also. Those three
yeah,
chapters. They kind of they're showcasing one Krishna's like like unlimitedness or infiniteness, and also there is the glories of Krishna, and also kind of showing the extent, like you said, like a demo and a practical example of how it's
right. It
like
permeates the
it's
entire universe. Yeah,
yeah, and it's very difficult to kind of like you can't approach this interpretation, I think, in any other way. So I always wondered, like, for other schools of thought, like maybe like a more like a Gyanic school of thought, let's say, like other people who are from a different school, like, practicing a different yoga, for them, like, how would they interpret these three chapters, like, in like, according to you?
yeah. The
Do
12th
you have any
chapter,
idea?
yeah, the 12th chapter, I think what you're meaning is that it is so personal and so
Devotional service.
devotional and
Yeah.
so the
Mm.
oriented. I appreciate that. With the universal form, it actually appeals sometimes to the Jnani, because it's the keynote in once Krishna starts talking after the 30th verse. He starts talking in the 5th verse, but 30th verse is, time I am the great destroyer of all things. So that is kind
Oppenheimer,
of
he made that. Have you heard of Oppenheimer? He,
Oppenheimer. Yeah, yeah. Go on.
yeah,
The
he,
name is
no,
like,
he is the person who invented the nuclear bomb, and
right.
he quoted this verse
I see.
at the start of the World War.
Yeah,
He apparently he was very into the Bhagavad Gita,
I
and
see.
he was the one person who invented the nuclear bomb, which
Uh-huh.
the whole world wanted to basically use and to protect themselves and all that. Everybody was
Right,
trying to buy it, and he
right.
was hunted down by various countries and various people and stuff. So he quotes this verse in like there's a video of
Uh-huh.
it on YouTube. If you just search like Oppenheimer time, and if you just
Okay.
search that, you'll find,
Right.
like, he says, he quotes this verse actually, time I am destroyer of the worlds, and that. So yeah, this chapter is very like significant in that sense, or
Yeah,
like.
so I think it is something modernistic people can relate to. The destruction element, the overpowering and overwhelming and frightening vision. It's like being given glasses to. Have you been to any of these 3D theater screens? You're given some kind
Yeah,
of. Are you
3D
given some kind
glasses,
of goggles
3D,
to wear?
like a 3D glass, like that
3D
you get.
glass. I think this Mowgli or Jungle Book or something was
Hmm.
like that. Was it? So what you're
Yeah,
supposed to? You're given some kind of goggles to see. Is it?
you'll wear the glasses, and then so like it'll appear as if it's like in front of you. It's
Oh,
like
right,
actually
right,
happening to you like that. That's how it'll appear. Like if you watch it without the glasses, you won't
right.
actually be able to see the screen properly, because
I see.
everything will look different. But you need the glasses. So what the
Right.
glass will do is the image will like come. It'll almost be like the image is coming out of the screen, or that
Mhm.
character is coming out. So that's the 3D element of that, basically.
Right. Of course, now for hunters hunting at night, I believe there are some kind of special night vision glasses.
Hmm.
Even if it's pitch dark, you put
Oh,
on those
yeah, yeah,
glasses and you
night
can
vision, yeah,
see without shining a torch. So this is
okay.
very helpful for people working in areas where they can't afford to
Forest
flashlights.
range, forest
Forestry,
range.
exactly, yeah. So that like that, I think this 11th chapter will appeal to the modernistic mind, and including to those on the Gyan path, because finally it is bringing things to this keynote of time I am, everything is destroyed, and it's kind of null and void. Because Gyan approach, basically they deny everything. They deny the beauty or the
Everything
greatness
is
of
one, Brahman
everything is one.
realization.
Yeah, just merge into some kind of empty space. They are too fearful of interacting and facing the hurt and the grief and the love and the joy and everything that comes out of this temporary material world. They're too fearful, so they just deny all relationships with a Supreme Lord for fear that, there again this same kind of grief and hurt and stuff will come. So I think this universal form is not so difficult for people of that mentality to relate to. Regarding your question in connection with the 12th chapter, we'll discuss that when we come to it. Because in the 12th chapter also, from verse 5 or 7 to verse 12, Krishna is giving different possibilities. You can't do this, you at least do this. You can't do this, you at least do this. Can't even do this, do at least this. And you will eventually come to me. So just see again, I mean, how interestingly, in a chapter that's otherwise, like you correctly pointed out, pure bhakti, which is tough. There are readers and viewers and followers that Krishna is going to lose straight away. So packed in the middle, embedded, like you embed a link, embedded in the middle of that 12th chapter is these possibilities, this kind of grades, which I think those other groups who can't relate to the bhakti aspect will at least get hold of that. So here, this is like forward thinking. Arjuna is insisting that he make a display to convince those who may otherwise doubt. And then, of course, it gets recorded. I mean, Krishna is not going to come every other century or year and just make a display like this. He does come in different avatars and to do shockingly wonderful miracles and pastimes, because it is to claim those jivas that are caught in this material world, or even long after those pastimes are over, let's say. Just hearing about this, going to that spot, experiencing some remarkable things in our own lives, they strike a chord somewhere and they increase our faith or at least our curiosity. So this very, very important, this universal form verse. And interestingly, because Arjuna is a devotee, he's in a devotional, friendship-oriented relationship with the Lord. At the end of the universal form, he is just frightened and overwhelmed. He doesn't want it. He wants the Lord to just go back to his second two-handed form. And the point is made that for Arjuna, it was overwhelmingly frightening. Now, for the Sakhas and Gopas of Krishna, or the Sudama and Subala and so many names like that, if Krishna were, while playing with them in the forest, Krishna were to display this powerful godly form, even a little bit in some Leela, they wouldn't take it seriously at all. Because there's such an intimate relationship, there's not even the slightest iota of reverence. It is because in Arjuna's bhakti, there is still some reverence. That's good, where he is. That reverence is sparked, and that element of wonder and adbhuta, it is one of the rasas, one of the secondary rasas. If the 5 primary rasas or bhavas that a living entity exchanges with the Lord are this Shantaras, Dasyaras, Sakhya or friendship ras, Vatsalya ras, and then Madhurya ras. Those are the 5 primary. All right. Shanta means show Shanta that there is nothing more than that. It's just all reverent. Then there is Dasya, that you actually do some services. You're not frightened of approaching the Lord. Then there is Sakhya, which is one of friendship. Then there is Vatsalya, that's paternal. Then there is the conjugal or the Madhurya. But there are also 7 and more secondary rasas, and this rasa of Adbhuta, wonder, is one of them. So it is because Arjuna's bhakti or devotion to his cousin Lord Krishna is tinged with that reverence, that when he sees the universal form, the reverence element is ignited. Once it's ignited, it becomes like a big fire, the wonder of the whole thing. And it's really like being surrounded, like 3D vision from all sides. This is coming. It's not just on a flat screen. You can move back. So he gets just so terrified. He says, I don't want it anymore. Please show me your two-handed form again. So that's also an important lesson in this, that for a devotee who's already developed devotional feelings, this will not hold much attraction. But for those who are still at a level where they want to be very impressed by a personality, especially the personality of God, that's all right. That jiva has traveled that far in his progress back to Godhead. So for them, the universal form will be an extremely attractive, frighteningly attractive. Like, it depends. For some children, it is a very authoritarian figure is something they love. They just frightened and they say, teachers coming, and they run. There's another kind of child who's not willing to be cowed down just because the teacher's coming. And there's a third child who may question and argue. There may be others who may rebel. And there may be some that the teacher decides is more advanced than the rest of the class and teachers almost treats as an equal. So these are just different levels of evolution, even in spiritual life. And accordingly, we drift slowly towards a particular Ishta Devata. And more we come to know and we develop those feelings very strongly. Now here, the universal form. The other important point about the universal form is that it's not just that Krishna is showing how he permeates the entire universe, he is also going to show the outcome of the war.
Mm.
Because the whole issue is that Arjuna is caught between Kula Dharma and Kshatriya Dharma. The Kshatriya Dharma basically wants him to fight. The Kula Dharma, he is bewildered because after all he belongs to a particular family. How can he kill his own kinsman and grandfather and teachers and so on? So that to again get him off that platform and make him select his Kshatriya Dharma and just get on and fight, Krishna is going to show the outcome of the battle.
It
So
shows
that
all
whether
of them already like entering the mouths of
mouth, exactly, of the
yeah,
universal form.
of the
Exactly,
universal.
like so many wasps or insects just flying into the universal form. Actually, even when we hear stories like the submarine that imploded,
Uh,
you just see how, of course, one can say it is their karma playing itself out. It's very sad. The men who died in that submarine that imploded, the Titan, which was going close to the Titanic, they were four of the most powerful men in this world. They were millionaires, they were explorers, and at least three of them were of advanced stage and had done many such dives, deep sea diving, and so on. Two of them, the father and son, very unfortunately, were not scientists. They were just kind of that Shahzada Dawood. He was just a millionaire who put his money into this. And the son, the 19-year-old, apparently was terrified of going, but he agreed only because it was Father's Day. When you hear of the kind of havoc, only now it's been confirmed that the implosion took place in 1 second and everything would have finished. At least mercifully, it would have been a quick death for them. Earlier, we are hearing they're running out of oxygen, 12 more hours left of oxygen, they're banging on the wall, and some other missile is picking up some sounds. Now we know that was all just speculation. But the kind of the horrific nature of the end that was waiting for them, whether out of their own foolishness, because now we are hearing that a lot of people had written to the company Ocean Gate that don't go on this expedition. There have always been issues with the submarine whenever it is ferried tourists to the site of the Titanic. It's all often lost contact with the mothership. Please don't go before doing more experimental um, uh, endeavors
I
or
think
whatever.
I
Yeah,
think as human beings also like we only learn when we have that
make
experience.
mistakes.
When we
Absolutely.
make the when we like if somebody tells us with our against our better judgment like don't do this, we're like
Right.
our how, like like the feeling of wanting to do it becomes more like you want to just do it that time itself, and you're
Right.
like no, I won't listen to, I'll do whatever I feel like doing. So that kind of, I think we all, I think that's kind of like what happens in these situations also, like
Right.
we can't.
And it's also overconfidence, I think. They're saying
Yeah.
that, of course, they loved the ocean. They were saving the ocean. They'd made millions and they were putting it into exploring. And it's true. Without the adventurous spirit, you can't explore new zones. But what on earth did they think they're going to fight in the Titanic that's not already been found? I don't understand. And
Titanic
that's,
is long gone. I think it's
yeah.
like why they still worried about it. I don't know. Like
Yeah,
it's
and someone shared a picture of what they were actually going to see. It is just tragic. It's just some wreckage lying there. Everything that had to be found and looted. And the director of the
yeah.
Titanic, James Cameron, came and said it is unbelievable the stupidity of the whole venture. There is no reason, no excuse. Why did they go for this? That is his mood. Whereas the man who died, the chief explorer, I think Stockton or something, no, I think it was some other name, a British person, he was saying, oh, this is so easy, it is like crossing the road, why are people worrying? So this is really overconfidence. But when you see that if time and tide, if time turns against you and some really difficult karma is going to play itself out, it is like being in front of the universal form. There's nothing you can do. Where was all the power of that millionaire Stockton or whatever, Joshua, whatever his name was, I forget, Harding or something, Haring or What was it of? It was of no use. I mean, if he'd come out of the submarine with just a click of a button, he could have commanded millions and commanded all the help he wanted in the world. But somehow, by his own volition or by his own stupid or overconfident decision, he found himself in a situation where there was no way out. So it
Mm,
is really the universal form is meant to also open our eyes that every day there are situations you read of people being trapped, and how can they deny there is no God or there is no superior power that is permeating the entire universe, watching what we are doing, giving us our due, sometimes coming to our help. How can they say this? So the universal form in that sense also is very relevant for modern times. So let's just start with the first purport. Would you like to read
yeah.
the verse 1?
So yeah. So the
Just
purport. Should I say the translation or just go straight to the purport?
okay, start the translation and the purport. Yeah.
Okay. So the translation is, by my hearing the instructions you have kindly given me about these most confidential spiritual subjects, my illusion has now been dispelled. Purport: this chapter reveals Krishna as the cause of all causes. He is even the cause of the Mahavishnu, from whom the material universes emanate. Krishna is not an incarnation; he is the source of all incarnations. That has been completely explained in the last chapter. Now, as far as Arjuna is concerned, he says that his illusion is over. This means that Arjuna no longer thinks of Krishna as a mere human being, as a friend of his, but as the source of everything. Arjuna is very enlightened and is glad that he has such a great friend as Krishna. But now he's thinking that although he may accept Krishna as the source of everything, others may not. So, in order to establish Krishna's divinity for all, he is requesting Krishna in this chapter to show his universal form. Actually, when one sees the universal form of Krishna, one becomes frightened. Like Arjuna, but Krishna is so kind that after showing it, he converts himself again into his original form. Arjuna agrees to what Krishna has several times said. Krishna is speaking to him just for his benefit. So Arjuna acknowledges that all this is happening to him by Krishna's grace. He is now convinced that Krishna is the cause of all causes and is present in everyone's heart as the super soul.
Okay. Now, if you see in the original verse here, this word mad anugrahaya, that's the first word in this verse.
Hmm.
As an anugraham to me, as a special blessing to me, please. This is the request Arjuna is making. And as a special blessing to me, you have kindly given me, confidentially told me all these spiritual subjects, and my moham here means illusion, has been dispelled. So all of us are susceptible to being in delusion sometime or the other in this material world, and if we depend a little bit at least on Krishna, we can find our way out. Moham doesn't necessarily mean we go into drug addiction and to illicit sex and to drink or alcohol. It can come on a daily basis. Like I said, I was so carried away by the physical beauty of the recent the Puvar trip, and the fact that I finally got a break from the drudgery of solving problems in this flats from morning to evening. I got completely carried away and I overdid the exercising, with the result that I came back so exhausted. I forgot that I'm no longer that young at all, and I'm not exercising daily in such an intensive way. I loved it. My injured knee was working very nicely and the pool was lovely, and then we ran into another problem. For vegetarians, there were very few food options there. Actually, if I had uh, not focused so much on the exercising and the walking over all the 18 acres and the boating and the swimming, I could have negotiated with the menu, with the kitchen, and said, can you please make this, green pea curry and chapati for us, and can you make, we don't have to be stuck with veg noodles every day, 3 days for Chinese veg noodles and some dahi and I don't know, soup and burger, and I could have. So I really showed a lack of balance. I got so carried away and deluded and didn't
Hmm.
realistically see that I am not going to be able to sustain this. So it's a big lesson for me. It's a real lesson for me. And now, if you look at that verse that came in the sixth chapter, how there has to be balance for a devotee between eating,
That's
sleeping, meditation,
that
Here,
in my mind actually, that has also been like the word that's in my mind for all the time, like because the word balance, that you were saying, that's
yeah,
kind of it's like I even when I was in when I went for my own office trip or whatever, like there were times when I couldn't follow my particular like routines or whatever and stuff, but I realized that like I'm like, you know, I was very strict with my routine when I was not here, and now when I'm here, I can't, out of external reasons, can't do my routine.
Right,
There's no need for me to like worry too much about it
right,
because I am in this situation. So if you're in the situation, if everybody else is in the same situation, why need to worry so much about? If
right,
you
right.
as long as you have the intention, like as long as you know that what is the main thing, the main thing is like you have loving devotion for Krishna. That's like
Right. Sure.
that's the like main thing, because that is what is going to continue to.
Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, sure. So she's on a call right now, so
Sorry.
just, yeah, no problem. Just,
ആ കൊറിയർ അല്ലേ താഴെ കൊടുത്തേക്കണേ ഞാൻ പഠിപ്പിക്കണോ ഓൺലൈൻ ആ ഞാൻ നോക്കട്ടെ 638385 താങ്ക് യു യാ ഓക്കെ
yeah, so yeah, I was just saying that so like in that moment, like I kind of realized also that I don't need to be so strict with my like
true
routine, and I can just like relax a bit and not worry too much about,
sure
because the intention is very clear in my mind. Like I don't have, I think what happens is that when you get too used to something, you think that if you don't have it, you lose your way in that. But if you genuinely have the like the interest and the love and all that, then you can still do other things, but and then come back to it at a
yeah
certain point.
this coming
So
back is important, like meaning we
yeah,
must just watch and learn from the situation and just come
yeah,
back, like as you said, there's no need for unnecessary guilt and
yeah,
unnecessary kind of panic, because often you have to be flexible, otherwise you'll drive
yeah.
go
You
drive
can't.
mad, go mad.
You need a
And
break. Like
yeah, yeah,
sometimes
of
you
course
just
we
need
need
a break.
break.
You need a
But
break sometimes.
yeah, I understood that in this trip I was doing all recreation, and though of course we were eating, we were sleeping, but I was not focusing. If I had put more effort, they would have produced some variety. Instead
Mm.
of eating only noodles and burger and soup and ending up with
Yeah,
constipation, the two of us, we could have done something better. It just didn't. I didn't apply. I got so carried away with the recreation element and the relaxation. Anyway, so one just learns because we delude ourselves, like I said, this delusion, this his moham is over, meaning
mm.
his delusion about my illusion has now been dispelled. What his meaning is that his illusion that he won't fight, uh, that these are his relatives, how can he kill them, that illusion apparently has been dispelled because Krishna has said so many things, that I am in control, I am the Lord, I am asking you to do this, and so on. So, like that, we can become deluded, not necessarily in serious ways of sinful activity and crime. On a daily basis, if you watch certain decisions we took are blunders. It's so common, especially for us ladies, to see some fashionable top or dress. We're past the age, we don't have the figure or the fitness for it. And we buy it and we look so clumsy. Now, I have a whole lot of things I'm giving away to a second shop. They will just take it away, take 10, they're coming tomorrow. It's not all clothes, it's so many other gadgets that I used when my shoulder was bad, my leg was injured, which are now someone else can use. So they've started a nice shop. They will come and collect it, provided everything is clean, working condition, electrical gadgets, that they will have a platform from which people buy. They keep 10% commission for themselves, and what the rest they either give back to you, and or it's diverted to an NGO in Chennai. I said I don't want the money. It can go to the NGO. So we what we are saying is it's so often that we delude ourselves. But if we are, like you said, if that genuine connection with the Lord and everything He's teaching in the Gita and the Bhagavatam is there, we should be able to pick ourselves up and just start pulling the rope and get back on track. That's all that
because
can be.
that because I think also like what I from what I could learn from my experience is that like like the discipline, like what the chanting or the routines and all that, that
Right.
is directed directly towards like Krishna in one sense, that is like that is helping you to kind of be in a position that when it's not possible to kind of do it, then in those moments when you're trying to find some type of like understanding balance, or when you're going through some difficulty, in those moments, like you're trying to find some type of like clarity, let's say for example, or peace of mind,
Right.
then that all that, like that work or that discipline that you put, that comes, that pays off in that moment basically.
Mm,
It can help
exactly.
because like normally, like if I'm like a routine would, for a daily routine would be like I pray, and so I'm able to think of Krishna every day with no
Right.
issues like that. Like taking the effort. But what if you're in a situation where you can't do that, where you can't spend time and do your routines and do all these things?
Yeah.
So then how, like you have to focus your mind on something else, but that will give you some type of negative reaction because you're not, because your mind is not balanced. So
Right.
what is going to help you to carry forward you in that moment? Like, it's
Mm,
going to be that routine and that kind of that discipline that you had before, that in that moment you'll suddenly think like Krishna's face or whatever will just come in your mind, and then
right.
you can be like, ah, okay, no, it's fine, everything is okay and I can do my thing. So I think it goes like hand in hand one sense. Like you
Sure.
can't get you can't get too disciplined, because then if you get too disciplined, then people, I mean, you can sort of,
It
it can be
becomes a
like
trap. It becomes a
trap.
kind of trap
Yeah,
actually.
it's
Mm.
like too tedious, and you'll actually kind of, you'll wear yourself out also after a point. You'll kind of
Actually, what I've seen some devotees after many years, 20, 30 years, I have seen some of them. That's not my nature. They develop a taste for the austerity. It's not that they are
yeah,
some
yeah, that,
personality disorder or
yeah,
anything
yeah,
like
some people have that. Yeah,
yeah, they just kind of do, and either they get some deep realization or they feel so much better because of the austerity, getting up very early, chanting extra rounds, bathing twice. They are not insisting that others should do it, and they are not judging that others are not doing it, but they are fully in that consciousness. I have not seen it here. I'm talking about in on the dham in Mayapur. They then somehow adjust their life and
um,
come and live there. They're
I
not
think
affected.
I think it's I've also thought about it. I think it has to do with the association. I think like if you commit yourself, I think maybe because in both of our cases we are in a surrounding where we are
Fully
not with
material.
full,
Fully
yeah, it's full
material.
materialistic, and
Absolutely.
we can't really focus on, like even if we wanted to also, we can't really focus on
Right.
that for every moment. So
Correct.
though some people have just made the decision that this is what I'm going to focus on, and my life will be like this, and they're able to, and it's very simple. Like if you think about it, it's like, oh, even I should be able to do that. Like I should just go ahead and do it. Like I'll go and live, and my life will also be the same way. But there's so many other like issues with that, like your family, your friends, past experiences, and expectations and things like that, that in this life may not be possible, but you can still try your best and see how it works.
Though, mind you, even on those who go and live on the dham, there are enough material issues catching up with them, because different issues. The electricity bill doesn't make any sense.
Oh yeah,
You
that'll
go,
also happen.
you go to the department, they
Yeah.
won't explain. It is a very Bengali mood. It's some unfair amount. If you say, how can it be they're going to cut your. So it's not that they are having an easy time, but somehow they've evolved through years of systematic practice or reading or hearing. Or I think they have also got kicked so badly by the material world, they don't want to have anything more.
Hmm.
They're willing to get kicked on the dham, by different issues and by disease and by milkman trying to cheat them and add water and so many issues. They are willing because they've just had it with the material world. I have seen very few Western people like that who are now touching 70, cross 60, who've been chanting very regularly, been living, earning a livelihood, and somehow adjusting their spiritual life, developed real taste, somehow managed to come to the dham. So after that, even on the dham, when these kind of issues catch up with them, they just tolerate. That's a kind of very remarkable because they've developed so much taste for the austerity. You're living in a flat there, and you see 3 o'clock in the morning, somebody is chanting the Brahma Suktam, and you wonder what on earth, what is, can't he, shouldn't he be sleeping for 1 more hour? What is he doing? But then you see that in that Grihastha area, all the lights are off at 8 o'clock at night. So
Hmm.
because they have been trained
Yeah.
by the Gurukul system and Gurukul Maharaj, who teaches that every hour before midnight gives you almost twice that amount of rest. This is a
Hmm.
basic vidya. Okay, basic. So you just think someone goes to sleep at 8, by midnight, 4 hours, he's already got his 8 hours.
Mm.
Everything else is surplus energy. You know,
Mm.
so they've got somehow that logic appealed to them. They physically experienced it, so they follow the pattern. That kind of rare specimens I see a lot there. I haven't seen it at all, like as you said, in these material
Yeah,
communities.
it's
Possible
not yeah, in our, as long as we're, I think, in the material world,
situations.
it's not possible. As you said, even in the Dham also, it's very difficult to I mean, it's there's so many difficulties there also, and to maintain that sense of, like, you almost have to kind of just say, you almost have to hate the material world so much that you
So
kind of
much. Exactly.
that
That's
you
very
resign
difficult
yourself.
for us. Yeah,
Yeah,
in our
that's not
circumstances
easy.
with so many responsibilities, ties, connections, money issues, we can't do that the way the Westerner can do it. He's just chucking a whole culture, he or she, and a country and a whole zone of the world and turning his or her back and coming here. We can't do it. Wherever we go, we run into people who know us in the background. And India is large, but it's not that large that you can
And,
just kind of fade away into another existence. So it's very tough here.
and
There's
India's,
absolutely no doubt.
I think, for an Indian also, it's like, the cost of living here is less, so it's kind of like, what we earn also, we have to like
Yeah,
we have to work a little harder to get a
right.
good lifestyle.
Yeah,
But a
yeah.
Westerner, just even if they're poor also, if they have like $10,000, they can still live in India for the rest of their life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's
it's true.
more than enough.
No, they go back
That's
for
like,
one summer, work in some petrol pump often, earn dollars, and come back that at the end of the summer and buy a flat.
hmm,
Here in India, where at least in my parents' generation, one flat at the end of a whole lifetime if you didn't have an inheritance.
yeah.
That's all. Whereas these people, it's so, yeah, I agree. It's very different. They have pluses and minuses. They
Hmm.
have many pluses, which makes it easier for them to take to devotee life. Some of them are trapped in countries where life is hell. They can't openly practice devotion. Now, even Russia has turned very hostile. Putin and Russia, earlier it was only mainland China. All right. So that's how it is. Now, verse 2. Uh, please read the translation
Yeah.
and yeah, the purport.
So, O Lotus Side 1, I have heard from you in detail about the appearance and disappearance of every living entity, and have realized your inexhaustible glories. Purport: Arjuna addresses Lord Krishna as lotus eyed. Krishna's eyes appear just like the petals of a lotus flower out of his joy. For Krishna has assured him in a previous chapter, Aham Kritsnasya Jagatah Prabhavah Pralayastata.
Tatha.
I am the source of the appearance and disappearance of this entire material manifestation. Arjuna has heard of this form from the Lord in detail. Arjuna further knows that in spite of his being the source of all appearances and disappearances, he is aloof from them. As the Lord has said in the ninth chapter, he is all pervading, yet he is not personally present everywhere. That is the inconceivable opulence of Krishna, which Arjuna admits that he has thoroughly understood.
Okay. So this lotus-eyed Krishna, his eyes being compared to the petals of a lotus flower. I'm sure you came across it even in the Krishna book, maybe.
Yeah.
Not just the shape, but also that the edges are tinged with the light pink,
Hmm.
like the shades of the lotus flower. Lotus flower may be whitish pinkish, but the edges, the tips are reddish pinkish. So and there's so many more personal descriptions of the Lord in other scripture. Here you don't get to hear much.
Hmm.
Okay, I'll read the next translation and the purport. O greatest of all personalities, O supreme form, though I see you here before me in your actual position, as you have described yourself, I wish to see how you have entered into this cosmic manifestation. I want to see that form of yours. Very nice, because he is making such a straightforward request in a submissive way. I want to see that form of yours. Right, purport. The Lord said that because he entered into the material universe by his personal representation, the cosmic manifestation has been made possible and is going on. As far as Arjuna is concerned, he is inspired by the statements of Krishna. but in order to convince others in the future. That's the point. Who may think that Krishna is an ordinary person, who just makes these claims. Arjuna desires to see him actually in his universal form, to see how he is acting from within the universe, although he is apart from it. Arjuna's addressing the Lord as Purushottama is also significant, since the Lord is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is present within Arjuna himself. Therefore, he knows the desire of Arjuna and he can understand that Arjuna has no special desire to see him in his universal form, for Arjuna is completely satisfied to see Krishna in the personal form. But the Lord can understand also that Arjuna wants to see the universal form to convince others. Arjuna did not have any personal desire for confirmation. Krishna also understands that Arjuna wants to set a criterion. This is very crucial, for in the future there would be many imposters or bogus avatars who would post themselves as incarnations of God. So the point is, if someone says, like I am the Kalki avatar, or someone says I will take you to the Kalki avatar, let's book a ticket to Hyderabad and then you pay 10,000 rupees and get darshan. People should actually go up and challenge and say, then show us the universal form, or show us something that is genuinely a miracle and mystifying. Thus, people therefore should be careful. One who claims to be Krishna should be prepared to show his universal form to confirm his claim to the people. Right, the next verse and purport, please read.
If you think that I am able to behold your cosmic form, O my Lord, O Master of all mystic power, then kindly show me that unlimited universal self.
Oh, that's
Purport.
nice. See, that's nice because he is having some hesitation. He is
Hmm.
saying, if you think I will be able to behold your cosmic form, meaning that I will be able, or meaning if I am qualified to receive that vision, and also that maybe that I am able to survive it or to take it all in. Right, kindly show me. Carry on, purport.
It is said that no one can neither see, hear, understand, nor perceive the Supreme Lord Krishna by the material senses. But if one is engaged in loving transcendental service to the Lord from the beginning, then one can see the Lord by revelation. Every living entity is only a spiritual spark. Therefore, it is not possible to see or to understand the Supreme Lord. Arjuna, as a devotee, does not depend on his speculative strength. Rather, he admits his limitations as a living entity and acknowledges Krishna's inestimable position. Arjuna could understand that for a living entity, it is not possible to understand the unlimited infinite. If the infinite reveals himself, then it is possible to understand the nature of the infinite by the grace of the infinite. The word Yogeshwara is also very significant here because the Lord has inconceivable power. If he likes, he can reveal himself by his grace, although he is unlimited. Therefore, Arjuna pleads for the inconceivable grace of Krishna. He does not give Krishna orders. Krishna is not obliged to reveal himself unless one surrenders fully in Krishna consciousness and engages in devotional service. Thus, it is not possible for persons who depend on the strength of their mental speculations to see Krishna.
Okay, now the crucial point here, these last few lines. Therefore, Arjuna pleads for the inconceivable grace of Krishna. He does not give Krishna orders. Krishna is not obliged to reveal himself unless one surrenders fully, etc. So here, revealing doesn't necessarily mean only appearing in a form,
Hmm.
or coming and standing in front of you. For ordinary folk like you and me, in modern times in Kali Yuga, revealing can also mean that he appears, he gives us some insight within our heart. Why is this something terrible happening to me? That is also revelation.
Hmm.
Because once you can understand and see and join the dots, connect the lines, and internally, if we submit that, okay, we brought it upon ourselves, he hears this submission and submissiveness and starts curing the problem in a dispassionate way. If you see this terrible case that an Indian couple are suffering, this young couple in
Oh,
Germany,
Germany, their child
yeah,
is
it
taken. Yeah.
makes no sense. I doubt very much that father actually did something to the child sexually. Some injury was found on her private parts. It can happen. A 1-year-old child, you make her sit on a sill or window sill or something. Some slight injury was found there, and that was 2 years ago. Based on that they took the child away. All right, the court case is followed, etc. And this is a similar case somewhere else, and I think a movie also has been
I
based
think
made on.
Norway, I think it was
That's right,
in
Norway.
Norway.
Yeah, because our Indian system, for example, I think in the Norway case, the allegation is that the child is made to sleep with the mother, but that is common even when the child is, unless completely got into puberty. Whereas according to the Norway system, they should have a separate bedroom and they should sleep separately and so on. All so this kind of nightmare that this the couple, Indian couple in Germany, they would not have anticipated. Okay, you hear of parents who produce deformed children, you hear of parents, with the huge congenital children born blind, and they take it as a karma, they're very disappointed, and so on. But this is a kind of very unfortunate case. The child is alive, but they can't have access to the child, and court cases, no court is hearing. They've been in and out of court, blown up so much money, taken loans. I think they've contacted the Indian ambassador there. He says it's a very sensitive case. What does it mean? We don't know. I mean, they can't really cut through the laws of that country and do anything. So if someone could preach to them and get them, however hard it is internally, to accept that maybe in a previous life they have deprived somebody of that person's child. That is the karma coming back. Nothing else makes sense. Maybe that doesn't mean what's happening is right. It should be fought in the court, it should be fought at every level. But maybe, otherwise, what is the sense for this kind of
Hmm.
nightmare ongoing for this couple?
I think in their mind, for them, they'll only be thinking of like, how can I get my child back? That's probably
Sure,
the only
they
thing they
should be thinking that. They should be
think.
thinking, but if some devotee intervention were to cultivate them and
Hmm.
teach them to think a little deeper, why is this happening to me? Like these books that come in the West, why do bad things happen to good people?
Yeah, good people.
Somebody obviously thought of all this, because Christianity doesn't explain it. For Christianity, it is God is all good and all powerful. And if these things happen, then he is not God, or he is not all good or not all powerful. So
Hmm.
Christianity, it's a blind, a dead end. But in Hinduism, we have this concept of karma to kind of like to try, though karma is basically very difficult to understand. But this kind of karmic reaction, so if there's devotee support, devotee intervention, supposing they were already in touch with some devotees when things were going well, and they get all the counseling and the support, somebody may put it into their mind that please consider within your heart when you pray that maybe in a previous life you did something terrible and deprived somebody else of their child, of access to their child, or stole that person's child, or killed that child. And today you are put in that same position unless you understand what harm and sorrow you caused. If
Hmm.
internally they can honestly and genuinely pray this prayer, actually externally things start changing in their favor. This is the beauty of this kind of bhakti system. You know, the case of that somebody who the hunter who shot a bird and its mate and was cursed by someone else, and
Hmm.
turned out the two blind parents he had to carry. You remember that? Who was that?
In the It's a story in the Bhagavatam.
Story Bhagavatam, or most probably like one of the, I'm thinking even of Amar Chitra Katha. I'll just do a quick search.
The So the bird was like shot and then it got blind. Yeah? Or
No, a bird that was mating or very happy with its partner was shot unfortunately by a hunter. So
okay.
the sorrowing partner bird who survived cursed him that you will know, I curse you that you will know the sorrow of losing your loved ones. So
It's the
either,
same. Isn't that like that's kind of the same thing as Pandu, no? With his wife. Pandu and his wife, they were like having that conjugal love in the forest, and then not Pandu and his wife. Sorry.
no,
The He went into the forest and he saw like I think two sages in like a conjugal position. He shot them, and then the husband, both of them like died after that. And then, but before dying, he says that at that you will also experience the same thing, and that's what happens when he. That's how Pandu dies basically in that story. It's something
Uh,
similar to that, but yeah,
this is
this is a
another
bird and
gets cursed. Let me just try. No, it's a different name, not
hmm.
the killing of the crowncha bird.
Oh,
Valmiki's curse. See, uh, suddenly, once hermit Valmiki set out for the river Tamasa to have a morning bath. The heron couple were engaged in love play. Suddenly, a sharp arrow pierced the chest of the male bird, which fell bleeding near the feet of the hermit.
hmm.
Filled with anguish, Valmiki cursed the hunter. You have killed one of the loving pair. You will not prosper for years to come. Anyway, I think that is the father of Ram. He is
Oh,
supposed to know the pain of separation for his beloved. That's the one, the Ramayana.
oh,
Okay, that is what are we talking about here?
Trashra?
No, no,
Uh,
Dasharath.
sorry,
Dasharath.
that's
Yeah,
yeah, that's
this is
yeah.
the what it all comes through in the form of a promise he made to his wife and the machination of the maidservant and all. But he is basically forced. Just see this. He is forced to know what sorrow by a thoughtless or a careless act he caused that heron bird.
Hmm.
Okay, because Valmiki cursed him. Remember, Valmiki has a whole role to play in the
Yeah.
Ramayana. Therefore, Dasharatha is forced to experience the pain of losing his favorite son. Not that the son dies, but he's forced to go away, and then the battle and so on. And I think by the time Rama comes, Dasharatha has already passed away, died of separation, no, of the pain of separation, as far as I know.
Yeah, he dies like while Ram is in like exile, basically. That during that period, he dies in that time, like kind of.
Someone else, somebody carries two blind parents in a basket, and that is also something connected with a curse like this.
Oh,
Shravan Kumar. Okay, story of Shravan Kumar. Uh, story of Shravan Kumar. He was an who had great devotion to his blind and old frail parents. He was very responsible. Brought two bowl-shaped baskets, carried them, etc. Then he went to fetch water from river Sarayu. Dasharath, who at that time was the crown prince of Ayodhya, was wandering forest hunting animals. Dasharath had a special ability of shooting at. He mistook Shravan Kumar to be a deer bending at the water and killed him. And the
hmm.
blind parents cursed. When Prince Dasharath was busy hunting animals, Shravan Kumar came to fetch water. He bent down, and Dasharath thought this is a animal, took shot, and the arrow killed Shravan Kumar. On hearing the cry of pain, Dasharath rushed forward, was very upset. He requested, etc. But they had lost the son.
Hmm.
When Dasharath offered water to the blind parent, they cursed him that you will know the pain of the sorrow of losing a very dear and very obedient son. So it's really true. These kind of epics are taught us to apply in our daily lives, but everyone shies away from it. And naturally, we can't go and bluntly tell people like this who are in such great anguish. And
Yeah,
doesn't
they'll
mean
they'll
they
get
should
very
just
upset. They'll get
yeah,
very
but
upset.
doesn't mean that they should just sit there
Yeah,
and say this is our karma and stare at the sky. They should fight it tooth and nail. But simultaneously, if one doesn't take responsibility for our own karma, internally, privately, confidentially, with a mentor, or otherwise inside the heart with God, whichever God they pray to. The minute we start accepting responsibility that there is a reason why this terrible thing is happening to me, God becomes so pleased that actually He starts making changes in our favor in that horrible mess. This has been my
and
experience.
also like when you put all the faith in, like in the sense like whatever God you pray to, because I
Yeah,
feel like on one level, like whichever God you pray to, it all gets tied back to Krishna in one sense, and
right.
it's like
Sure.
it's just a different name maybe. But
Sure.
uh, but I've seen, like, even like you also said, based on your experience, like even in my
Yeah.
like experience also, I've always noticed that if I go through like a difficulty, in
Yeah.
that moment, I kind of, the easiest thing to do is like, is to kind of lament and complain and be like, why is this
Like
happening to me? That kind
negative.
of
Be
thing,
negative.
be
Sure.
negative. But in that moment, I've noticed that if I instead, if I focus all my attention to Krishna now, then what happens is that I feel good.
Yeah.
Although like I may not be able to like resolve the situation that moment, but I
Yeah.
feel better. And then over time, I'm able to see why
Ah,
I had to go through that problem. And
right.
because it made me a better person, and like it put me actually in a better place because it made me go
Mm,
through that difficulty and get better and all that. So
right.
that's
Right.
because of my experience also.
Okay, that's true. I mean, basically, we have to take shelter of the Lord and our faith and whatever practice you've done when things turn negative for us, isn't it? Because these are crucial points where one can go away from the Lord or go more towards the Lord. Like
And
what's happening,
also, I also feel like, in Krishna also knows what is it that you actually really desire. Like
desire.
truly,
Absolutely.
like,
Very good.
so
Very
like
good.
what is, like sometimes you'll say, oh, I want like a house, or I want this, or what, some materialistic thing. But there's something else that you actually want. Actually, you want like people to, you want to get, like, say for example, you want to be proud of
Impress.
yourself. Like you want to,
Impress. Impress.
yeah,
Yeah.
like you want to be more confident, you want to be more happier, or you want
Right.
to
Right.
be more loving. That's what actually you want deep inside.
Right.
And actually he'll make that desire come out. He'll
Mm,
give you what you actually need, not what you
correct.
want.
Correct.
So I've noticed that also, like,
That's
in
true,
my
very true. And like definitely these kind of setbacks are turning points or like very crucial. Like
mm.
there's concern. This family that lost a young son in that that was hit by a train on the track or whatever, and they were fully into Krishna consciousness and preaching and teaching and so on and children's programs. Now there is concern whether they will survive the tragedy sufficiently to come to a higher platform or whether they are going to turn away. Because nobody knows. They have chucked to Trivandrum and shifted to Chennai. They don't want to have anything to do with the rest of us. They just cannot accept what happened. And all the followers are also saying there is no such person as God. So we don't know where this is heading. We really don't know. And like you said, sometimes God throws us into fire to either purify us and make us come to a higher platform, or sometimes basically He's showing us that we were motivated maybe by more shallow desires. And He's
Mm.
asking us, do you really want me? Do you really trust me? Or you just want that nice position you had of being a teacher, preacher? Don't know. It's very hard to say. Nobody knows what to say to them, and whoever goes and speaks, tries to make contact, that the father of the child is saying, what have you come to tell me? What do you have to tell me? This is the answer. So people are scared to go and talk to them.
Like I just notice sometimes I'll have like some materialistic goal or something
Yeah.
that I want to get, like this is the salary that I want to get, or this is the
Right.
position that I want to get in my career or
Right.
whatever. And sometimes I've achieved that little bit.
Yeah.
I've grown my, like I've grown in terms of salary, like up to some a little bit, not very high, but
Right.
somewhere like, but like every time that's like a materialistic goal. But if I pray to, I sometimes pray to Krishna for that sometimes. But like the thing is, I know that deep down inside, it's purely a materialistic goal that I'm asking for. And Krishna may after all like grant me that position. But even when I get it, no, I'm never satisfied with that.
Ah,
I'm never like, I know that, oh, it's almost like, okay, Krishna, you helped me, but I'm not. Yeah, I understand why you did this, because you wanted me to realize that this is not gonna make you happy, and that you need to focus your attention on the fact that that you need to like let go of these things, because
Right.
Once you get it, he's trying to show me that okay, you've got the salary. Is that making you happier now? No. But then when I'm able to like buy something for my parents or something, and
Right.
then they like they feel very happy or something like that, that
Right.
makes me like happy.
So much
And then I'm
happy.
like, oh, that's the real thing. And so that's what Krishna's trying to tell me, like, this thing you've got, but it's like what is actually making you happy is like the connection that you have,
Right. Right.
and the fact that you're able to change other people's make other people be happier and all that. That is more important actually. Like
Absolutely.
focus on that. So
Very much.
uh, that I've it's taken some time, but like I've understood like what is. It's almost like it's not like, yeah, you can ask for this, but I'm gonna tell you why you need this. Like I'm gonna give you a better purpose as to what you can do with this material gain or whatever it is and all that stuff. You can
Mm.
do this with
Right.
that.
Right. Right.
It'll
Exactly.
make you more happier, like that. Yeah, so that's what
That's true.
I,
Very true.
I don't know.
Because yeah, Krishna is also situating us so that we get our priorities right. Because there's a whole
Hmm.
life ahead of you. You know, if
Yeah,
we chase material goals mindlessly, it's a trap.
the
But the
trap.
trap very much exists all around you. So he's quietly correcting our priorities and teaching us what actually gives real happiness, what doesn't. But that doesn't mean we can't pray for a better salary, because there are things you can do with that money.
Hmm.
So he's constantly guiding. Once we formed a friendship, he's there. That's the main point. And like you're
I
saying, if you're introspective, he's constantly showing us and comparing and teaching us like that, like an
I
ongoing.
I've seen like I don't want to say this, but like after getting this, like I've been earning now for a while, but
Yeah.
sometimes like see people ask me for money or something like that and stuff. So then in before I couldn't, because I couldn't give money to anybody because I didn't have any money with me.
Right.
Now that I've got money, like people are slowly like asking me a little bit like, can you help me this that and all that. So I'm like for me right now I'm like but these are not like, these are people who are very close to me who are
Right.
asking me this.
Right.
And for me, like I look at money now as like, oh, once I've given it, I'm not gonna get it back. I'm not getting it back from that person now. I just like,
Okay.
yeah, I've given you this money. I can always get this money again. Like I can
Right. Right.
work. I can get the salary. I can get my money. That's not a problem. I don't know. It sounds very like as if I'm boasting or anything like that. But basically, like, uh, yeah, I don't know. I look at it in this way, like, okay, it doesn't mean anything in one sense. Like, there's no
That's
meaning to it.
okay, but as long as you are aware what you're using the money for.
Yeah. So it's like when I give this money to somebody that's close to me, for example, and they're just happy in that moment to get this money, then
Yeah,
I'm fine with that. Like, I'm like,
that's
okay,
okay. As
that's
long
good.
as they are not using the money to destroy
Ah,
themselves,
yeah,
all this drug menace and
yeah,
whatnot, it's very scary. Because then not only you get the karma, it's harmful for them. No. As
yeah.
long as you have some kind of clear idea what they're doing with money, meaning make them a little accountable. I agree that you don't have to keep rushing after them and grab the money back. You probably know you're never going to see it
No,
again.
I once I give money to somebody, I know I'm not, I just assume that okay, I'm not getting this money back. I
Correct. I
assume that
understand.
I don't, and I'd never ask, like once I give money to somebody, I never ask them for money back.
Right,
I
right,
just
right.
like I'm like, okay, it's fine, let it be. Like I'll just like
Correct.
um. So if the person gives it, then it's a genuine person. They, but the person doesn't give it, like it's fine, not an issue and all that. I don't know. I think, yeah.
Right.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear.
Oh yeah.
We're just now
So
going. Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
I was just saying that the reason I think this also like practicing, like listening to
Gita.
spiritual topics, Bhagavad Gita, all stuff. It's kind of made me realize that the material world is, it's like you use it for up to how much, like use it to basically try to progress yourself spiritually forward. Use it,
Yeah.
don't like, you don't have to abandon the idea of not using it, but use it as like, as a sacrifice for Krishna. In one sense, use it in that purpose,
Right.
and then
Right.
you'll get whatever benefit is like a byproduct of that, basically, like
Correct. Correct. Yeah.
it.
That's
So you
true.
don't, yeah,
That's
so
good.
like,
Yeah. Okay. Now we are going over time. So shall we
yeah,
stop
yeah,
and
yeah.
catch up next week? All right.
Okay.